In the spirit of the topic of this video and my teaching experience in multiple environments with classes, up to over 300 people in size, I'm going to, as an introduction for this video, I am Tanis, Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle. I'm Tanis Presley, she, her, hers of Graceland, and I'm going to lay some ground rules before I actually delve into the topic, because this is going to guess a very triggering topic for some people, so we're trying to like make it less intense. What was it? Practice some attenuation of potential flared emotions. Okay, big word. Okay, attenuation. Okay. In some context that means make slender, so like we're making the issue not quite so burdensome. So 1, no including the name of the individual to be discussed. 2, no including the birth date of the individual to be discussed. And 3, no disclosing the social identity I'm to discuss, the current social identity standing of the individual at the time of filming. Okay, so today is Friday, 20 December 2024. I've already introduced myself, and I'm going to address Is My Sister Trans? And this is as of Friday, 20 December 2024. So I'm going to provide my perspective on whether my sister might be transgender, omitting potentially sensitive specifics and putting my take in a broader approach. And so this is, I think, perfect priming if I were to ever achieve notability, because the press likes to lie and slander and spread rumors, and especially with my aunt being a lesbian and me being asexual, and my sister having used birth control / contraception to miss her period, her menstrual cycle. This is one that like an angle the press might use to derail me. All right, so I'm like, well, let's see if I can implement my own media training here. So ground rules and having a video if it doesn't get taken away. So I'm not going to discuss the current state of anything. And fortunately, I'm not privy to that information. So I couldn't even if I wanted to. That's the best answer ever, right? Okay. It's the best time to film something like this. Note to self, when I haven't seen the person in a number of months, so I can't speak with any certainty as to the physical reality of the situation. Okay, excellent. Being an absent aunt is a great thing. So I think here, this is follow up to the abuse of contraception / birth control to miss menstruating, which is what all female hormones cycle in a however frequent. So mine is a 31-day cycle, and there's a bunch of hormones that go through that, in changes in chemistry and that kind of stuff in a person, in addition to like anatomical changes for myself, physiological changes, depending on where I am in the cycle. And so when a woman cuts that off, they're no longer going through female cycles. So I think for this particular issue, I would say that, so this is attenuation because I'm only going to focus on that aspect of the is she trans? She's my sister. So this is we can take a very broad thing, put it through an attenuation filter and slender it down to just the abusive birth control / contraception. And I would say, from my perspective, a woman is transgender if they abuse it for a sustained enough period of time that it does actually alter their female reproductive system, but like how they think and stuff. So stiff arming being a woman means not being a woman. A man doesn't have a menstrual cycle, so technically not menstruating is synonymous with being a man in that very blatant menstruating, non-menstruating, and capable of menstruating. I'll throw that in there, right? Because there's some people who are not old enough to menstruate and some people who are too old to menstruate. So there's the very specific window, and so if a woman is capable of menstruating and chooses to stiff arm it, well, that's technically what a biological man does. So technically, from my perspective, that would be biological male territory. The abuse of birth control / contraception with a catch. So I started menstruating, and I got my first menstrual cycle, and then I missed my cycle for like 3 or 4 months, and then it started in regular, and like I went in for physicals and stuff like that, and checkups at the doctor, and I brought that up, and they were like, no, that's fine, that's normal for like getting started. So and since then I haven't missed a single menstrual cycle, over 18 years now, 18.00 years. And so there is I would say careful on the definition, because I have encountered through my own personal experience that things are different at the initiation, the onset of menstruation. It's not something a woman is born with. It is part of puberty for a female anatomy, and it makes it possible for, what does it do? What is menstruating? The transition from non-menstruating to menstruating, it means a woman is capable of having a baby. Okay, so if producing human offspring, like growing it inside oneself and birthing it and that kind of stuff, is a definition of being a woman, then menstruation is the thing that allows that to happen. And a healthy biological one. So, not synthetically altered. So yeah, that's my take on that. Is careful. I would guess there has to be a minimum, and the longest I've gone is 3 or 4 months, but that was at the beginning, so it was allowed. So I don't know what that definition would be. So that's my broader approach here, is just approaching the situation that I brought up earlier. People want little positive takeaways. Okay, multiple soulmates for a female is only valid where they are an original people too. Ooh, otherwise a woman with more than one man is not with their soulmates. By definition, that is reserved for native peoples women. So would this change if my sister was trans? Right, it's applicable to the native peoples or original peoples of an area. So then, but it's applicable to the women. So I don't know if that applies to trans or men. And so that's kind of like a food for thought one. And then positive takeaway of something that's not necessarily food for thought, but something that's happened. Well, the native people's women's thing. That's Native Americans or women used to have more than one soulmate and cohabitate, and then a bunch of people invaded and occupied the land and have zero resemblance to the original people's culture. So that's sad. So let's go with something positive takeaway. But that one's a positive takeaway for me, right? If something happens and there's a bunch of 100% non-Native Americans in the press and they have like 5 guys and all at the same time, it's like, those aren't your soulmates. It's not allowed when it's a fake connection, even if it's sold as soulmates kind of thing. That's just how that works. And then for a personal, so then the positive for a personal life tidbit, positive takeaway. My mom and dad met in 1984, were engaged in 1985, and were married in 1986. So 1 year met, the next year engaged, the next year married. So there we go. So that's an attempt at de-escalating a potentially triggering topic. So is my sister trans? It's Friday, 20 December 2024.